I'm trying to find a way to write a comprehensive and nuanced review of Season 3 of The Boys without me just simping for the entire cast. Unless you guys are cool with that, in which case, that's probably what I'm gonna do today. It's definitely what I'm gonna do today. I'm also trying to make my own hot take on this, because this will probably just be one of billions on YouTube. Think of it this way. I'm just saying what everybody else is thinking. That supposedly gets you ahead in my country. What I'm about to say is something that a whopping 3% of critics on Rotten Tomatoes will disagree with me on. After an almost 2-year wait, Season 3 of The Boys fucking slaps.
I'm stronger. I'm smarter. I'm better. I am better!
Greetings, my good bitches. The name's Francis, Coke Francis. I'm an editor, comedy writer, drag artist, and I'm here because I'm about to fuck your idiot brains with stupid. Now, if you've seen almost any of my videos, I've dropped some slight hints that I am a huge fan of The Boys. I've seen every episode, obviously. I've read all the comics, and I did a cosplay that Antony Starr complimented on Instagram, and I've bragged about it daily ever since. Including right now. Diabolical was a nice way to tide us all over until the release of Season 3, which, as I said, took almost 2 years to finally be released. We all waited with bated breath to see if they'd find a way to top the near-perfect Season 2, and after many requests from people, I'm finally able to make a fresh video about this show. But before we begin, if you are a fan of watching a very tired drag queen talk about nerd shit forever, I ask that you please inject some Temp V and infiltrate a superhero orgy. Then, catch your enemy by surprise with your new super strength penis, but only after unzipping your pants and dick slapping those like and subscribe buttons as hard as you can. And, as you've probably already guessed, extreme spoilers ahead. I don't want to put you through what Twitter and the Boys subreddit did to me. Just trying to be the real hero here.
You're not the real heroes. I'm the real hero.
So I had actually wanted to start working on this during Season 3 so that I could get a video out as soon as possible. But by the time I was like halfway through the series, I realized I literally couldn't because every episode actually did something that surprised me. None of my predictions were correct, and I literally work on a scripted TV show. The first thing I'll address is the introduction of Soldier Boy, portrayed by Jensen Ackles. Now, for years, and I mean years, I never understood the hype around Jensen Ackles. Like, sure, he's attractive, seems like a good actor, but like, I didn't know why everyone around me was just creaming their jeans for this guy. And, you know what? I take back everything I said. I take back saying that I don't think he's all that because, I get it now. I absolutely, unwaveringly understand all the cream jeans now. I was wrong, and now I'm taking accountability. I, Coke Francis, pledge to be better. What I'm trying to say is that Jensen's pretty cool. Not that his screen presence was disappointing in the slightest, but considering the amount of hype and news attention that Soldier Boy got during the making of Season 3, I kinda wish we could have got to see more of him, especially given Ackles' fantastic performance. About halfway through the season, he spits this fire track, and then we see some ass, which I'll never complain about.
Fab Five Freddy told me everybody's fly. DJ spin and I said my.
But compared to Stormfront's immediate presence in Season 2, it would have been nice to have him introduced just a little bit earlier. I guess you could argue that his scenes in Herogasm alone made up for that, but that was episode 6 out of 8. This is just me being a nitpicky asshole over a show that I could never possibly hope to make myself. Who am I to sit here in my bedroom in a suburb of Los Angeles, in drag, with my Homelander doll sitting next to me as I criticize the show he's in as if I could do any better? As for Soldier Boy being Homelander's dad, it upset me at first. Not because I think it's a bad idea or anything, because in hindsight it actually totally makes sense. The real reason it upset me is because a bunch of people in the boys subreddit had predicted it weeks earlier, and then I would always respond with, "Nuh-uh, the whole point is that Homelander doesn't have a dad." And I did this several times, and now I have to do my least favorite thing in the world next to bra shopping, which is admit that I'm wrong. Ow. My pride. Speaking of dads, how is it that out of all of the dads in 3 seasons of this show, Homelander's like the 3rd best one? So canonically, this season takes place a year after the events of season 2. So for an entire year, Ryan, a 10-year-old, has been tormented by the fact that he accidentally mortally wounded his own mother and his dad's girlfriend, and apparently nobody offered this poor kid any kind of reassurance. Homelander was somehow the first one to tell him it was an accident and give him any sort of forgiveness.
But aren't you mad at me for what I did?
You know it wasn't your fault, right? Son, when you're as strong as we are, accidents happen, things break, and sometimes they are the things that you love the most. But that's all it is, an accident. And nobody on this earth knows that better than me.
So when people are like, oh, Ryan's gonna be evil now, I think he's just clinging to any bit of forgiveness after being haunted by that for a whole ass year. Yes, there's that creepy smile at the end, which leads me to believe that in season 4, Ryan's gonna flirt with evil after hanging around Homelander for a while. But he's either A, going to become sick of the spotlight from having a famous dad, or B, eventually realize that his dad is a dickhead, setting up Ryan to be the one who actually takes out Homelander in the end. This is because Ryan was given something that Homelander always wanted and never had, an actual parent who loves him. When Ryan hugs him, that very well may have been the first genuine hug Homelander has ever gotten in the 40 years or so that he's been around. I mean, plenty of people have touched his dick, but I doubt they also gave him a hug. That being said, that still doesn't excuse anything Homelander has done at all, but holy shit was this a good season for him. We saw him at his most unhinged and his most sympathetic. He cried and got his ass kicked twice, and he really needed it. Specifically, the fight at the end of Herogasm between him, Soldier Boy, Butcher, and Huey was probably one of the best scenes in the whole show, and it was super cool to actually see the 4 of them engage in real hand-to-hand combat. I could make an entire video just about every scene Homelander was in, but in addition to the scene I mentioned earlier with Ryan, there are 2 others that I want to focus on specifically. Firstly, the one where Stan Edgar reads him to filth.
The world will recognize you for the pitiful disappointment you are. You are not worthy of my respect. You are not a god. You are simply bad product.
This one honestly speaks for itself because it is a true mic drop moment. But one of my biggest disappointments in the finale was that Stan Edgar never made any kind of comeback. Not just because of this Giga Chad moment right here, but especially considering the implication that everything that happened after his departure was all according to plan. I'm sure he'll come back in season 4, and all our questions will be answered, but that's a whole year from now. Same with Newman's kid getting that injection of V. I kept waiting to see a payoff for that, and then I never did. That might be the biggest issue with the finale and why it left everyone wanting more. Solid overall, but too much of it felt like a teaser for season 4. Not even a bad product. God damn. The other scene that I cannot stop thinking about is the incredible mirror scene in Herogasm. I feel bad having to even cut it up so that Amazon doesn't yell at me.
Hey, when we were kids, alone in the bedroom, I got us through it, right? Tell me the real reason. I want to hear you say it. Say it! I want them to love me. Yahtzee! Because deep down, there's a part of you that is still human. No. Part of you is. A dirty, shriveled, anemic little part of you that still mules for approval and love and a mommy and a daddy and a boo-hoo-hoo.
Quite possibly my favorite scene in the whole damn show. But believe it or not, there's an episode of Diabolical that makes it pack an extra gut nuclear power punch. So, if you haven't seen Diabolical, it's an animated anthology of 8 different stories that take place within the boys' universe. I'm Your Pusher was set further within the comics universe, but 3 were officially dubbed canon by the showrunners: Nubian vs. Nubian, John and Sun Hee, and 1 + 1 = 2. 1 + 1 = 2 recounts an event from earlier in Homelander's superhero career where he's tasked with infiltrating a chemical plant where the employees are being held hostage by terrorists. It implies that at one point, Homelander seems like he actually had some kind of desire to help people, and is genuinely horrified when he accidentally kills one of the hostages.
You weren't supposed to do that.
That was you!
I didn't know.
Ultimately, the pressure becomes too much, and he spirals into a fit of rage, killing everyone, to which he is even more horrified.
No, fuck.
Intercut throughout this episode are scenes from his childhood, which shows how he was literally conditioned to become the killing machine that he is today. Cut to this scene, where the other version of himself, the only friend he ever had in his life, says,
When we were kids, alone in the bad room, I got us through it, right?
Was that the bad room that we saw in Diabolical? As I stated before, it still does not excuse anything he's done, but it's still a crazily tragic detail that provides a lot of insight into how this dude came to be. Also, fun fact, this scene was not in the original script. Absolute GOAT Antony Starr came up with the idea himself. Everyone keeps asking why he hasn't won an Emmy yet. Calm down, guys. He's not gonna win an Emmy. This is because he transcends the Emmys. Giving him one would be an insult at this point. This is the same organization that gave a 5-year-old pre-recorded showing of Hamilton an Emmy over Bo Burnham's Inside. Give Antony something useful, like, I don't know, a throne maybe? I also wish we could have got more Maeve this season, but apparently this was due to COVID restrictions in Ireland, where Dominique McGilligot is from. I mean, Butcher got plenty of Maeve. Am I right, ladies? Wink. In a way, the finale made up for that when she was the one who ultimately stopped Soldier Boy, and seeing her beat the living shit out of Homelander was for sure one of the best of the season.
Hey, asshole!
I had actually predicted that Maeve was going to be the major death of the season, but like I said, nearly all my predictions were wrong. I can see why some people saw her survival as a cop-out, but at the end of the day, I'm really glad she didn't die and that she got what looks like a happy ending. For now. On that note, can we get an F in the chat for Black Noir? Homelander killing Black Noir was especially surprising, even for him, and it was especially gut-wrenching, pun intended, after we got the details of his backstory in the previous episode. He wasn't just the silent ninja character with a nut allergy anymore. He became the reason the fandom went from, I like Soldier Boy, I think he's going to be a good guy, to, fuck that guy, I hope Homelander kills him, in the span of a week. So, the claims of Black Noir being a wasted character are somewhat valid. Although, if you want to talk about wasted characters, F in the chat for Supersonic, and to think he had just got his license to drive. But for some reason, I just have a feeling we haven't seen the last of Black Noir. Maybe that's just my terminal optimism. He definitely isn't okay right now. For sure, the saddest part of the finale. Second saddest part of the finale is when Ashley took her wig off. I loudly exclaimed a noise that I'm pretty sure all my neighbors heard during that part. I think I feel more bad for her than anybody else in this whole series. Even though she's a huge fave of mine, I was a bit disappointed in Starlight's arc this season. I understand that she's one of the last real remaining superheroes, and her whole deal is always wanting to take the high road, but like the Democratic Party in the United States, taking the high road means inevitable loss when the other side is playing dirty. Same goes for MM, though I do think he had the stronger arc this season, and had even more of a moral dilemma given what that douchebag Soldier Boy did to his family. Also, the scene where he punched Todd might be the most satisfying of the whole season.
You're not a father.
Someone's gotta be.
Fucking Todd. When Starlight finally decides to fight back, it's great to see, but it feels too little too late. Huey helps her absorb as much light as she can, and she realizes she can fly. Super cool. But given all that buildup and that super majestic shot of her flying for the first time, that light blast should have blinded Soldier Boy's bitch ass, or at least done more than just knock him over. Even if Maeve is still the one to officially take out Soldier Boy, they still did my girl Starlight dirty in that scene. Now that she's not as afraid to fight back, hopefully we'll get to see more of her in action next season, especially given that she's this powerful. Speaking of too little too late, let's talk about A-Train for a minute. Now, I know there are a lot of A-Train apologists out there. I'm usually one of them. He, like everybody at Vought, including Homelander, is motivated by fear. There's also a lot to be said for him being the only visible person of color in the Seven, dealing with corporate PR bullshit on Ashley's part, and literal Nazis like Stormfront. Just like when he helped expose her in Season 2, A-Train literally dragging that bitch Blue Hawk by her hair was a very redeeming moment. But, like I said, in the grand scheme of things, too little too late. When Homelander said that A-Train snitched on Supersonic, I was hoping that he had actually just overheard their plan with his super hearing and then blamed it on A-Train. When I found out that A-Train actually snitched, that was really low, even for him. And though I know his intentions going into it were good, teaming up with Blue Hawk was even worse. Eventually, he did come to recognize his actions and felt genuine remorse, and it was a super low blow on Huey's part to punch him in the face after A-Train finally formally apologized to him. But as sad as it was to see, I don't blame his brother for not forgiving him. The dude will never walk again, all because his brother simped for a super cop for a minute. Either way, I'm still very invested in this character and his arc, and I'm really glad he didn't die after killing Blue Hawk. I mean, I totally get why Huey punched him in the face. The specific moment at which he did it was shitty, but I totally get it. His arc was super interesting and surprisingly controversial amongst viewers, but those of you who didn't like it, I kindly ask you to have empathy. Most fans of the show, myself included, probably look and act somewhat like him. Is it really that difficult to put yourself in his shoes for a minute? The dude has felt powerless and helpless his whole life and has always had to take a back seat to the rest of the boys. Then, when he finally gets superpowers, it's with the catch that every time he uses them, he loses all of his fucking clothes. He really is the bad luck Brian of the show. Yes, I know that's an old meme. I'm sorry. I promise I'm not a conservative millennial.
You made those words up.
It's not so much that he wanted to be a big man or anything around Starlight, it's that he wanted to just hold his own in the relationship. He didn't want to be superior, he wanted to be her equal. That can't be easy when you're just a regular dude and your girlfriend is one of the most powerful and famous superheroes on the planet. Moreover, his struggles with feeling emasculated was actually an interesting parallel to Soldier Boy's toxic masculinity, which is likely what helped push Huey back in the right direction. He, like everybody else, has moments of weakness and gives into temptation. Don't treat Huey like the punching bag that he is in the comics, especially because Huey in the comics is a whiny little bitch. Something that this season really succeeded at was creatively addressing everybody's trauma, especially in the second to last episode. The cartoon segment with Black Noir was particularly a standout, but Butcher's Mindstorm coma was a especially heart-wrenching. Given what he went through, it's a wonder he's not a way worse guy. In the comics, Butcher is a complete sociopath who is no better or worse than Homelander. And as much of a dick as he is in the show, he still has some degree of empathy, which is likely why he took the beatings from his father to spare his brother. Seriously, how is Homelander not the worst dad in this show? He's not even the second worst dad in the show. There's an aspect of the finale that a lot of people hated, but I couldn't disagree more with them. Butcher puts aside all of his beliefs about working with Supes and dicks over the rest of the boys so that he can team up with Soldier Boy in hopes of finally taking out Homelander. But when the time comes, Butcher and Homelander are actually able to put aside their differences for a split second when Soldier Boy hurts Ryan. A lot saw it as a cop-out. I saw it as character development on both their parts when they find common ground and protect somebody they both care about. I'd like to hope that Butcher will be able to heal his relationship with Ryan before it's too late, but that's mostly just so that Becca's dying wishes are honored. It's not like Butcher would be a great father figure either. Let's end the character discussion on a positive note. Frenchie and Kimiko. Kimiko is another fave of mine. Top 3 for sure. You cannot imagine my relief when she didn't die after Soldier Boy blasted her. I spent a whole week in a state of anxiety after that episode because if she died, I was gonna riot. The musical sequence with Frenchie made me smile like nothing else. She is the ultimate boys waifu. People in my house sleeping now, I have to stop yelling about this show at midnight on a Wednesday. That being said, another issue I had with the finale was her arc. She spent the whole season claiming how much she hated her powers and was elated when she didn't get them back after that power blast. I totally get why she got another injection of V so that she could keep Frenchie safe and also be the hero that she always wanted to be. But that's exactly why it was even more confusing when she gleefully killed all those guards in the finale, even though she stated multiple times how much she hated killing people. Maybe she was still high from that fresh shot of V. I don't know. Either way, I only want the best for her and Frenchie all the time. As you probably already know, one of the biggest cornerstones of this show is how well it succeeds at cultural and political satire, which is actually one of the most significant improvements from the comics. Okay, there were a lot of significant improvements from the comics, but I would need to make an entirely separate video on that. Let me know in the comments if you just can't get enough of my annoyingly encyclopedic knowledge of this universe. The satire this season still has the nuance that it's always had, but it was far from subtle, almost to a fault.
Imagine there's no heaven.
You think the media, our buddies over here, you think the media is going to report on that? No, 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 no. Of course not.
All lives matter. Soup lives matter.
And a lot of people complained, but the writers are not to blame for that. The fact is, the satire was never subtle, even since the beginning of season 1. Apparently, it took 3 seasons of hour-long episodes for the far right to finally realize that the show was making fun of them, and that Homelander fellow might not be such a great dude after all. Real goofball, that guy is. Go check for yourselves. Nearly every bad review on Amazon Prime is just conservatives complaining about how the show suddenly got too political. Sis, the main antagonist, wears a literal American flag as a fucking cape, and I mean this with the utmost respect.
Is your idiot brain getting fucked by stupid?
On that note, and obviously this is prevalent in every fandom, but the amount of apologists for the truly deplorable characters is, doing me a concern. This ties back to the people who are actually still convinced that Homelander is the good guy. Listen, Homelander is my favorite character in the show and in the comics. I mean, he's sitting right here next to me. God, this thing is so fucking cute. I think he's a fascinating, complex, sympathetic character. Does that excuse anything he's done? Fuck no. The point of creating a sympathetic character isn't to excuse their actions, it's to provide background and insight as to why they are the way they are. Antony Starr is just that good of an actor to be able to make such a truly reprehensible character actually somewhat relatable. Homelander's backstory is fucking tragic. So is everybody else's. But again, the amount of Homelander apologists just comes down to, once again, people completely missing the point of the show. Or it's because they want to bang him. But guys, let's be honest here. Who doesn't want to bang Homelander? If you don't, you're a liar, or worse, a vegan. And don't even get me started on the people simping for Blue Hawk. He was a fucking throwaway cop allegory and people were actually rooting for this guy. I don't even have a comment for that, except that it was wildly satisfying to see A-Train literally drag that bitch by her hair. Anyway, final consensus on The Boys Season 3. 9.2 out of 10. Still the best season thus far, and the show is actually tied with BoJack Horseman for my all-time fave. I would love to hear your opinions on this in the comments, because I'm sure they will be far less cancerous than anything I've seen in the Boys subreddit. In fact, they may even win the title of the best one. I'm filming this video in conjunction with editing the last one I just posted, so unfortunately, no winning comment this time. But I will make it up to you. I will put the winning comment from this video and the last video in the next one. Yeah, if you haven't seen the show yet, first of all, sorry for ruining it for you. Second of all, turn off this video right now and go and watch it. But before you do, I ask that you please inject some Temp V and infiltrate a superhero orgy. Then, catch your enemy by surprise with your new super strength penis, but only after unzipping your pants and dick slapping those like and subscribe buttons as hard as you can. And, as always, until next time.